Good Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm King 5 meteorologist Adam Claibon here on this first alert weather day, which we are expecting strong winds to impact some of our area. We'll see breezy winds everywhere, but there are definitely a few spots that we're keeping an eye on, and it looks like the timing late morning through the mid to latter part of the afternoon will be the key time frame for some of those stronger winds to move on through. So let's talk about that first alert weather day today. Because of the stronger winds, we're expecting that through this afternoon with gusty southerly winds that could maybe bring down some limbs, and we're good to be talking about some power outages, especially in a few key areas like North Coast and also parts of northern interior. We're going to see that for the time being here early into the afternoon and really throughout a lot of the morning. Winds not too bad in a lot of our areas closer to Puget Sound. So Tacoma, you can see the cloud deck lowering, but otherwise not a lot of wind to speak of here as we head into about the 11 a.m. hour. Out there closer to Everett, we can see skies are cloudy. Again, not a lot of wind to speak of as we head out here into the early part of our afternoon, but that will pick up here. Westport, as we take a live look there, you can see skies are currently cloudy, and we do have a bit more wind that is already taking shape here closer to the coast. You can see a little shake to the camera happening right there, and definitely a lot more rain out into those parts. Rain will be moving in closer to Puget Sound and already have started to hit some of us here by late morning, early into the afternoon, right around that lunch hour. I'm going to wait to see if this camera will pan over a little bit there. You can see some of the waves that are hitting the jetties there as we go on into this Friday. So as far as Bellingham, we don't have much wind to speak of right now, but we do expect that to pick up. Again, mid to late afternoon is going to be the key time frame that we'll see some of the peak winds start to move through the area, and we're one of the spots that probably have the higher chances of maybe noticing some impacts from these winds as we go throughout the day. There's the rain. It's moving in here across western Washington. Definitely a lot more moisture up our way as opposed to what's happening farther south across California. So it's directed at us and heading into British Columbia, and some of those heavier downpours right along the central coast. Now seeing that moving up across parts of northern Hood Canal and getting up around areas such as Discovery Bay as that is starting to sneak around the Olympics. Bigger point of view, you can see that area of low pressure is spinning up into the continent, and as that is happening, that is starting to kick up some of these winds where we are expecting advisories out for the south coast and areas closer to Puget Sound, all the way up to Skagit and Whatcom County, where we could see some gusts around 40, maybe 45 miles per hour. As you continue northward, however, up into the San Juan Islands, maybe upwards around Bellingham, we're talking Blaine, Ferndale, you can see some of those winds get up to 60 miles per hour. Now, I think up into those parts, we're still dealing with some really high winds, but as far as the specific area, I think it's going to be right here along the north coast that we have some of those strongest winds that will see maybe some of those impacts. The best chances of seeing some power outages will be into some of these parts right here, the north coast, as the system will be closer to the area there, a lot more of the energy closer to those spots, plus with the southerly wind that goes right up into the landmass as opposed to being more parallel with it as we go later on into this afternoon. So let's speak of the winds right now. Again, around 11:30 a.m. this morning, we're seeing winds around 20 miles per hour at the peak around Shelton and Hoquiam. Elsewhere, Quileute, and right now around Puget Sound, maybe 10 to 15 to speak of as of the time being. And then the wind gusts are starting to pick up too, closer to the coast where you see a lot more of those purples and reds. That's where some of those stronger winds are, and they're just off of the coast. Should start to sneak a little closer to us later on into the afternoon. Temperatures, they're mild per se, especially on this cloudy and kind of chilly day. We're in the mid to upper 40s, so something we can handle for sure, but those numbers will stay pretty steady here as we go throughout the afternoon. We'll see the rain chances pick up, and we'll keep them around as we go on into the night. Now let's talk about the timing of this wind, because initially here out along the coast, that's where we'll have the better chances of seeing those gusts exceeding 40-45 miles per hour. By about 2 p.m., that does start to shift farther to the east, and you can start to see around the San Juan Islands, up across Whatcom County, some of those gusts getting closer to 50, maybe 55 miles per hour. Some of these numbers that you see farther south around parts of Puget Sound, we're going to see gusts closer to 40-45 miles per hour, so it gets pretty breezy around that point. It's going to be mid to early parts of the afternoon. Then we'll notice as we go later on, the winds start to weaken around your evening commute, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a gradual decrease in some of these winds. So we'll continue to see them go down, but remain breezy as we go on into the night and on into the earlier half of Tuesday. Now let's go back to the rain, because we see that first wave come through as we go on into the afternoon, on into the night, and early tomorrow we'll see the second wave start to move on through, and it looks like that starts to move on by about 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll see some off and on showers through the rest of the morning hours. By the afternoon, chances are going to be really spotty, and will probably dry out for the rest of the daytime hours of Saturday. Then Saturday night into Sunday, we get this next wave of moisture that's going to push on through, and that will bring us some more rain, some snow up into the mountains too, which we're going to talk about here in a bit. And you can see some of those showers will linger on into your day for Sunday, and it looks like we might have a few around also for Monday. So let's talk totals. Anywhere between a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch around here. Parts of Puget Sound, a little less rain shadowing up around Oak Harbor, Friday Harbor, Bellingham, only around 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. Out along the coast, about an inch, maybe 1.5 inches, and this again is going to be including what we've already seen here so far throughout the morning. So expect those totals to come up just a bit more. And snow not going to be astronomical by any means, but it is going to be a nice dusting for areas farther to the south. Nice coating of 1/2 foot to 1 foot, maybe. Let's go ahead and say that. We'll be around 1 foot, 1.5 feet around Mount Baker, about 1 foot around Hurricane Ridge, so some nice fresh snow ahead. Here's your forecast for today. Breezy and rainy. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s. We top off in more of those low 50s around Bellevue, Redmond hitting 52, 48 in Everett, and seeing highs across South Sound in the upper 40s to low 50s. Then for tonight, we expect to see those areas of rain continue. Lows not going to drop a whole lot, low to mid 40s, so we'll keep the milder air mass in place. So we'll top off at 52 heading into Saturday, 49 Sunday. On into next week, looks like a lot of our systems will be coming through, will be rather weak and won't bring as much wind as what we're experiencing here for today. But again, if you are in those spots, if you're closer to the San Juan Islands, western Whatcom County, and I think more in particular, the North Coast, Quileute, we're talking about Forks, Neah Bay, that's where I expect some of the strongest winds to be, and probably where we'll see the greater impacts and possibly the better chances of some power outages. So just make sure to keep that in mind as you go throughout the day. Everyone take care, have a fantastic Friday, and a wonderful weekend.
For more local news coverage, live and on demand, watch King 5 Plus. Download free on Roku and Fire TV.